The Marsh Boys podcast is brought to you by
Papa Earl's, Cajun seasoning at its best. Use it on chicken, beef, fish, vegetables, Bloody Marys, and everything in between. Check out their fish fry for that perfect golden crispiness and that great Cajun flavor.
And Top Down Decoys, the most affordable silhouette decoy on the market. Their horizontal and vertical styles are both a perfect fit for adding numbers to your snow, speck, and Canada spread.
You can check out all of our great sponsors through the link in any of our social media bios. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Hey, take it!
For the third time.
For the fourth time.
Fourth time. Welcome back to the Marsh Boys podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Ryan.
And we are joined by Coleby Etherton.
Also for the fourth time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, for the fourth time. So, not to reiterate, but how's your trapping season been?
Good.
Yeah.
I'm behind on coyotes compared to last year, but way ahead on raccoons. I think I'm ahead on fox too.
You've easily got over a dozen fox so far, right?
I think I'm at, I gotta check. I think it's 13 or 14 red fox and then 2 gray fox. And like 20 some possums and 5 or 6 skunks and 90 raccoons.
90 raccoons?
90. I just hit 90.
Good night.
I just-
The rest of that page out.
I knew you were up there, but I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, I just hit 90 today.
Holy crap.
I'm trying to get 10 more by this weekend, really, so I can hit 100 and then lay off of them for a little bit.
Yeah.
I got some new spots I'm going to be setting later this week. So I did a little scouting 2 days ago, or yesterday. I did a little scouting and got some stuff rolling. So
Now, when you scout for raccoons, are you setting cameras for them, or are you going and looking for yourself?
going looking. I just look at maps. I'm trapping all state land, really. I have one little private piece I'm on right now with a couple snares, but it's all state land, so I'll just look at maps. I know pretty much all the state ground for 50 miles in every direction, and I already know where a lot of good spots are, and then I'll just say, hey, I've never trapped this, or I've trapped this before, but I want to revisit it and see if there's something I'm missing here, and I'll just look at a topo map and like OnX Hunt. Look at those. Look at like dominant wind direction is a big thing that indicates where they're going to travel. The streams, creeks, meadows, any kind of edge, like a field edge, like a change in crop. If there's soybeans and it butts up to corn, or there's a hedgerow between 2 fields that butt up to each other. Like if there's sometimes when they farm something, it'll be kind of too wet or whatever on the edge of the field, so they'll leave a strip of like 10, 20 yards of not farmed, and it'll just be like grown up stuff, just grass and briars and stuff that are starting to grow up. Any kind of edge like that, like where you see on a topo map where the elevation drops or rises. So I'll just look at those spots and say, all right, well, this is going to be a guaranteed coon spot. I need to go see it and see how I can set it up, and I'll just ride through, check that out, and I'll be like, this over here is going to be smoking hot for coyotes, so I want to set that. It's going to take a couple extra minutes out of my day, but it'll be worth it. So I pick a lot of coyotes up like that, where it's kind of in my travels, but a little bit out of the way, and I only need a couple snares, but I know it's going to connect eventually, and it might take 2 or 3 weeks before they come through. So sometimes longer than that, but they always. I've several times people have been trapping with me. I'm like, we're going to set this trail, and they're like, it's one trail. I'm like, that's the trail though. Yeah. Like I might have to drive down the road a mile out of my way to go set it and check it every day, and I might have to walk 20, 30 yards, stop the truck and walk 30 yards into the woods to check it, but it's going to catch, just a matter of time, you know. So those are the main things I look for, and then I go back through once I have all the definite spots mapped out. Then I'll go through and say, all right, this is a pretty good spot. This should produce something eventually. Like if I'm riding along, I see a big den tree, but it's not in a spot where it was like one of the hot spots on the map I was going to be focused on. I'd set that. If I saw like a log that had a bunch of coon scat on it, like we were talking, just stuff like that. that I add in after I focus on the main things.
Yeah.
Draw stations, I'll put draw stations out. Absolutely annihilate raccoons.
I know you wanted to ask a question. What's a draw station? 'Cause that's a new term.
Scent or bait or a combination of both.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. So like a deer hunter's bait pile or
Yeah,
an
same-
edge of a cornfield or...
Yep, same concept as if you were deer hunting and you put bait out. But you would use, I mean, I've even taken like dog poop or whatever out of my yard, raccoon poop, coyote poop. If you have something to throw it in, and usually they already poop on like if you find raccoon poop, there's a bunch of it, so you know
a scent post.
Yeah, it's a their own draw station, their own like how they communicate with each other and tell each other who's in the area and when and all that.
Okay.
But you can take scat and stuff and scent and add it to a place you want to draw more raccoons into.
They'll get curious about it.
Yeah. Even like a bait pile, but instead of a deer bait pile, just a little tiny one. But you add all that other stuff, the scent and you don't make it consistent. You make it like early season. I would go out and I'd had these spots mapped out. I'd put a little bit of bait out. It'd be like a dead carp from bow fishing.
Yeah.
And then a week and a half later, I'd take my table scraps from leftover, like I'd clean out the fridge or whatever, old food. I'd take all that out, and some of the stuff raccoons don't even eat, but skunks will eat it or foxes or whatever.
Yeah.
Take that out and dump it there. Corn, I buy corn for my deer hunt, and I'll take like coffee can scoop of that, throw it out there. Or, fryer oil.
Oh, that. Wow, I never even thought about that. Fry
Bacon
oil.
grease.
You said that earlier when we were talking about the column. I
Bacon
just threw a bunch
greases.
of bacon grease out.
Yeah.
Should have saved it.
I'm not
If
going to
you-
throw it out anymore.
No, take like if you can spare a 5-gallon bucket of corn, dump the bacon grease in it, mix it up, ferment it in water. Sounds stupid. You ever notice like if you have a bait pile for deer and the deer kind of make it muddy where they're stepping all the time, like because there's so many of them there and they're
Yeah.
stepping on the corn and the corn's getting mashed down in the mud and then it's all nasty and like rotten smelling and the deer stop eating it, but the raccoons love it. They'll like dig the ground up to get to it.
Like a pig.
Yeah.
Well, never mind. That's not even pertaining to this. I was going to say, aren't raccoons more related to pigs than they are
They
bears?
are. They're in the
Yeah.
no. They're all in the bear or in the pig family, aren't they?
I have no
I'm
clue.
pretty sure bears and raccoons are both in it.
Huh.
But I wanted to ask you before we get too far away from the topic. Have you ever had a spot that's just doesn't hit and like you thought it was good and all this stuff? Do you stay with it relentlessly and it eventually does, or you've just actually found spots that just don't have anything for whatever reason?
I had 16 locations opening day.
Mm-hmm.
15 of them caught.
Okay.
That one that did not catch, I never caught a raccoon on it.
You
I
didn't
don't
catch
know.
anything there?
Nope. And there was a den tree there that had been used. It might not have been active.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the same thing where I'd just throw something out every once in a while.
Mhm.
And it was already in a raccoon trail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if somebody killed the raccoons or what happened. It was only maybe a mile from some of the other stuff I had, but it looked great. I mean, it could have been birds and foxes and stuff eating the bait. Something was eating bait, could have been deer, whatever. I mix, if I'm putting actual bait out, I'll mix it with stuff that deer don't eat.
Okay.
Stuff that like deer will be like, I'm not
Like what,
that
tuna, stuff like that?
carp from bow fishing.
So close enough.
Basically,
Carp,
tuna.
run some
White
carp.
trash tuna?
Yeah, run some carp through a wood chipper. Mix it with your corn.
Where did you said something about running something through a wood chipper, and we said Coleby. What was it?
I don't know, but also if we were having that conversation, I don't know if it's something we can say publicly, because it probably wasn't.
I've ran a lot of stuff through the wood chipper. No humans, but a lot of stuff.
Dude, I saw it. Alright, this is really off topic. I saw an OSHA video of like
A rope getting wrapped around a guy's leg.
yeah, but it wasn't like real. It was like a doll,
Yeah.
and how fast it yanked him into that thing. I was
Like a second.
Oh my god! It was like
It's
like what 40 yards away the dude was or
Yeah.
something. Like it was a.
But
far.
it happens to people all the time in the tree industry because a climber will be up in the tree cutting stuff, and the ground guy will
And the tagline?
so tagline or is climbing, usually the climbing line, or if he has tagline tied off to him, and the ground guy will be dragging brush, and the rope, his climbing rope, will be wrapped up in the brush. Put the brush in the wood chipper. When the rope hits the feet, or when the rope hits the blades, they're spinning like a million miles an hour. Yanks them right out. Yanks them out of the tree right into it. Or if there's a rigging line or something laying on the ground, and you're chipping brush, you put the brush in the wood chipper. You don't realize that the rope's tangled up in it. You start walking away, and you step in a loop on the ground, and then it catches, and it'll just yeet you right in feet first.
Slow.
So something like that. That was always an irrational fear of mine.
Oh, it's not irrational.
No. Remember Deadliest Catch? There was an episode where it happened like that. The pot got thrown in the water,
and the
dude's
dude's
leg got caught in a coil, and he got flipped overboard. Never, I don't think he was ever seen again. But yeah, that's what made me think of that. And that was always a fear of mine I had for like no reason.
Yeah.
I think I'll take the wood chipper over that because you drown the other way. If you go on the wood chipper, it's like that.
Yeah.
That's fair. I always thought about that like it works. So
I don't want to do either.
Yeah, no.
I'd rather just not get sucked into anything by a rope.
Now I'm curious, like what was. Oh, I think I remember, and it is something that we can't talk about on here.
Okay. So, do you think, now you said you have, and I remember you telling me the other day you were close to 100 coons.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this weather has affected any of that? I don't mean to sound like an old man bringing up the weather, but in the last 3 years, this is easily, so far, the coldest winter we've had.
Negatively affected it.
Negatively?
They won't travel as far. In my experience, like, if it's like any out-of-state listeners, 20 degrees might be warm to them, and their raccoons might move a lot, but 20 degrees here is like freezing cold.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Especially the last 5 to 6 years.
You ever notice when it snows, you don't see raccoon tracks? They can stay in their den.
I never made that connection.
Yeah.
They can stay in their den for
so
days. Or if they have to leave, if they're hungry and they want to leave, they can get down and just eat acorns 10 yards, 20 yards from their den.
That's why they get fat, so they can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I relate that to squirrel hunting. If a real heavy snow happens, you're not going to walk around and shoot a bunch of squirrels.
No.
So I guess, yeah. I mean, same thing as a raccoon. There's acorns probably 5 yards from their den tree.
Now, I did miss that real cold snap we have. I just got back Thursday from vacation, so I missed the cold snap, which I'm not too worried about with the raccoons, but the coyotes, I always do way better on coyotes.
I was just saying,
it's cold.
Now,
I think mainly food, because they're still hungry. They still got to eat.
That was the connection I was going to make. With a raccoon, they're going to go 5 yards for an acorn, but a coyote's not going to eat an acorn.
Yeah.
They're going to be more motivated to find some food, right?
And I think it's also harder for them to hunt too, because the birds aren't on the ground. When there's snow on the ground, they're not. So they have to travel more to get that food. I mean, rabbits, and probably catch rabbits easier, but like birds aren't in this, like the songbirds and Tweety birds or whatever they usually eat in hedgerows and stuff. They're not on they're not underneath the brush on the ground like fiddle farting eating little seeds, because everything's covered up. That's why if you uncover a piece of grass or a piece of woods, like leaves, like just take a snow shovel and clear out, the birds will be all over it. Deer too.
Yeah,
I remember when I was probably like 15. This old guy I used to bow hunt his property, and it was snowing like hard, and it was like a foot of snow, and I was hunting in the morning, and I heard his tractor coming through the woods. I'm like, he knows I'm hunting. Why the hell is he driving a tractor through the woods, right? Like, there was, like, it wasn't even a farm, really. It was just woods, a block of woods he had. So he drives right on through, where I drive my truck in to bait and stuff.
Yeah.
Right on through the whole property, drives out, and I'm like, well, he just ran on a deer out. I'm getting out of here, you know. So I get out, I walk out, and I left, and then I came back in the evening. I was going to hunt again, and I was like, hey man, what was the purpose of plowing the woods today? You know, like he was like, oh, I bet you saw a bunch of deer though. I was like, no, I got out and left. He was like, why would you get out and left? That's the best thing you can do. I went back and checked the trail cameras and the tracks in the snow. They all, as soon as he left, they came to see what the tractor was doing in the woods, saw that there was clear ground, and they walked right down it, walked to my bait pile, hit the bait, dug out the snow and were eating bait. But they were mainly just foraging where there was no snow. And there was deer everywhere that night. I got in a deer stand, and he was right. There was deer everywhere.
So the funny thing is, like, I know we talk about trapping a lot, but you're a big deer hunter, big turkey hunter, all that. Deer are funny creatures, man.
Yeah.
So the same thing with that. They hear that tractor and they get curious. I'm assuming they probably learned that from plowing season, or
Harvesting.
Comes down, yeah.
They hear that equipment, corn. There's probably gonna be food on the ground for them. A spot I used to bow hunt. The old man would drive around in his gator, and he would use that gator to bait. And the same concept. They would hear that gator, and as soon as they would get out of earshot for him, they would swarm. I mean, you could do it at noon, and that deer would be there at 12:15.
Yep.
It's funny how the more you look into this kind of stuff, and the more you realize that, like, they're not that stupid. No.
Coyotes are the same way with tractors.
With tractors?
Yep.
Because I know the coolest thing we've probably learned from you, other than the fact that they banned barn owls, is that was what you found, right? Metal detecting a barn owl ban?
Yeah.
Yeah. But is that coyotes will follow a human scent trail. Mm-hmm. And I think you said that learning metal detecting, where you stop and dig a hole, they'll sniff it. But what were you going to say?
I forget now.
Oh, shit.
I forget where I was. Oh, yeah. Farm equipment.
Yep.
3 people that I know that either are farmers or work for farmers have sent me Snapchats of coyotes in the spring and in the fall when they're harvesting in the field with them, watching them, and they can drive the tractor right past them. No gun.
TikTok.
Yeah.
All the farmers out in Kansas, Oklahoma.
It's happening in Jersey. The last like 2 years, I've had people send me videos of it when they're harvesting corn.
Because they're probably jumping up the
They're
rabbits,
running all the
mice.
rabbits, the mice, the birds. In the spring, they have pups nearby. Mm-hmm. They want to make sure their pups are okay. Easy food. If they're plowing a field to plant it, and all the mice and voles are getting chopped up, they're going to go out there and eat them. And if they're not getting chopped up, they're running from the tractor so they don't get chopped up and they get eaten. And they're just curious. They're very smart, but they're curious.
I mean,
that's like I said when they were following me where I'd been metal detecting.
Yeah.
They were walking along. They smelled my scent. They smelled my scent, picked my scent up somewhere, or probably saw what looked like a dirt hole set, but it was just where I dug up something out of the ground. Walked over to it and said, somebody was here. A person was here. What's in this hole? What'd they put in this hole? And, well, there's nothing in this hole. What'd they dig for? Well, wait a minute. Let me see what he was doing. They follow it, and there's another one. Yeah. And he did it, like, across the field, and then just went in the woods and went about his business.
So, this is kind of on topic, but kind of not. And I was always curious about this. With them running in packs, right? And being as smart as they are, what percentage of them do you think won't fall for the snares anymore because they've seen the signs because one of their pack got caught by it?
I'm dealing with it right now.
You are?
I had I don't know if earlier before trapping season started, I was watching a pair of coyotes, a black and a blonde. I don't know if you saw it on my Snapchat.
I don't think so. I know I'm on your private Snap, but I'm not sure if I noticed it or not.
This was from spring all through summer into early fall. Like
I did see you post a blonde. I did see that.
I have a video of the two of them. Actually, I have a couple videos where I saw them a couple times during daylight. Same pair, blonde and a black running together. And I have my heart set on catching her. I call her Goldilocks. I caught the black one.
You were probably the first person I've ever heard name a
coyote.
Yeah. Taking a page out of those douchey deer hunter books.
Yeah, I have my heart set on catching her, but she's just, I don't know. I don't have any trail cameras out. I haven't seen her. Nobody's reported they've seen her. Everybody that deer hunts around, it was state land. Everybody that deer hunts there were telling me there's black coyotes here, and there's a black and a blonde one. And I know there's a group. There's 2 or 3 other black ones that are jet black, and they were pups this spring's pups.
Oh, okay.
I think they dispersed now because I haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you think this black and the blonde's a breeding pair?
yeah, and they stayed together all summer and into the fall. But I had the trail that I thought I was going to catch them on, which was actually probably 400 yards from where one of the places I had seen them. Was the closest place I'd seen them was like 400 yards away, but I knew this trail would catch. I double set it, I put 2 snares on it.
So now when you say double set, are you setting...
Set one, 5-10 yards down the lane.
What I mean is, are you offsetting them when you set? Just in case that coyote's running left or right side of the trail, or...
No, same. It was just a single trail, like a deer trail.
Oh, okay.
But I just hang 2 snares on it, and then if it's a 2-track, like from tire tracks, I'll set 2 on each. Mm-hmm. A lot of times with a 2-track, like I'll set the first. If it's along a woods or like a hedgerow or something, I'll set the first tire track for fox and the second tire track for coyote.
So coyotes stay a little bit off the brush. I was going to ask you that, but we'll go down later at the road. Go ahead a little more about Goldilocks and this black one.
So I had 2 cables set on this trail because I knew if I caught the one. So more backstory. There's a litter of 4 pups, different parents than the black and the blonde.
Okay.
They were probably a mile down the road. They were born. I know where their den is, but I went there looking for it and I couldn't find it. But then I found out that they were getting out. Once they started getting out of the den, then people started seeing them. I started seeing them. I knew where they were at, but I never messed with them.
Gotcha.
So they were on camera almost every day during the summertime together, 4 of them, and then they had 2 typical color parents that must have carried the genes for black color phase.
I was going to say, I believe we talked about it before. The black is a very dominant gene in the coyotes, isn't it?
It seems like it because it came. I know it came 50% of their pups out of. Well, 50% of what survived. I don't know how many were born. I think there was 6, but now there's definitely 4 that were still alive that were running together. 2 of them were black. 2 of them were typical.
Gotcha.
And the parents were both typical. So they were on camera all the time. I caught the 2 typical pups across the street, maybe half a mile down the road on state ground. Haven't seen the black ones on camera, haven't seen them around. And then I caught the blonde one's mate, haven't seen her around. And it's been a couple circuits now for the pair. And the young ones, I think, were already in the process of dispersing. They were not actually leaving their territory or their circuit.
Exploring.
But, exploring more. Their circuit was definitely getting longer.
Okay.
So I think now that I caught 2 of their siblings, which were both males, actually, I think they dispersed. And I don't know where the parents are. I imagine the parents are probably on their typical circuit, and these ones were just getting to their typical circuit until usually right before mating season is when they'll leave, and they might go. I mean, so you see out west, you see 100 miles. Yeah,
they'll dick around, and then
the older they get, the farther they travel until they reach their first maturity breeding season, which would be that winter.
Yep.
So I'm thinking that they disperse now, and I'll probably never see those 2 black ones again. But I don't know if the blonde one moved completely new territory or became transient and just kind of roams. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen her. I haven't heard of anybody seeing her on trail camera or hunting or anything like that.
So they avoid the circuit. That's the thing that they learn. Like if one of their pack.
I was actually thinking about today of why I haven't caught these other coyotes yet. I think that they, even if they do stay in their territory, they avoid that section of their circuit. So say their circuit's, say, 13 days, and on one of those days, they're always on this, say, 200-acre piece of property that's like thickets and stuff.
Yep.
But their friend died there. They know, okay, this was dangerous. We watched our friend get caught in a cable restraint, and I've seen him come back for 2 days looking for their partner.
I remember you talking about that. You caught a female one year
Yeah.
or something, and the male came back running that circuit.
He
pretty
stayed
consistently.
Yeah, he stayed there. So I should have had 2 snares on the trail, and I didn't. I had 1. I caught her. Beautiful blonde coyote, just beautiful. Looked like a golden retriever, just yellow as could be.
All right.
So gorgeous, right?
You could have said it looked like the crown bag.
Yeah.
You had to throw the
So,
golden retriever in there.
Gorgeous coyote.
Yes, I remember.
I
that
catch
one.
her. The mate ran up and down the trail and up and down the hedgerow all night. Was on trail camera, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I show up in the morning. It was a few hours after daylight. Check it, dispatcher, reset the snare. Later that afternoon, a few hours after I left, after I walked all through the property, the male was back on camera, coming back.
In the daylight.
Yeah, during daylight. And then he was there all that night, and then he was there the following night, like twice on camera. Where he
So
was
you
just,
think when she
I
got
think they were
caught-
mating, and he was still trying to breed her. And was coming back like, hey, where'd my girlfriend go? You know what I mean?
Coyote's into some kinky shit.
Yeah. But if I had 2 cable restraints on that trail, I would caught both of them together.
Yeah. That's like a goal of yours, isn't it? To get them out with 2 of them together.
But now, if you think about it, he didn't use that trail again, even though he was running up and down it when she was there. When he came back, he probably knew that she either died or that something happened and she wasn't there. But he associated that with danger when she was gone. He didn't use that trail.
saw her. She never returned.
And she was gone. The human scent was there. And then he was like, that trail's dangerous. I'm not going. And I kept trying to catch him. He stayed on the circuit. I did see him on camera a few more times before I pulled out of there when I trapped there for like 2 months trying to catch him.
Let me ask you a little more gruesome question. Raccoons are very, very gruesome when they expire.
Mm-hmm.
They do the whole fucking dolphin dive thing, and they bleed a lot. Do coyotes kind of do something similar, or are they a little more passive when they're gone?
No, they if I chest shoot them, they just they'll jump and then just stand there. They don't realize anything happened. They don't bleed much at all if you chest shoot them. They just if they're laying down, they'll stay laying down, or they'll get up and then lay down. And if they're standing up and you chest shoot them, I don't even think they know it happened, because they'll just be standing there and then they'll just kind of collapse and die.
Same thing as when you see like guys shoot a buck in the heart and it just stands there and then drops.
Yep.
So, is there a reason you prefer it? Because we talked before the podcast, you say you chest shoot a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason you prefer the chest shot over the head shot? Is it the amount of...
It's less messy,
yes.
for one.
Okay.
In my opinion, and you can save the skull. So, I'm selling everything on the round.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth more to the buyer if they can sell the skull for $1 or $2 or whatever.
Okay.
So, I mean, $1 is not much, but when you're only getting $1 or $2 for the pelt or for the raccoon on the round, which it's probably what it'll end up averaging out, $1 by the time you're done, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's only getting maybe 3 to put them all up. So if you're saving the skull for him, he might be able to give you that extra 50 cents if he's got somebody buying them for $2 a piece.
And if you're selling 90 coons,
it
makes a big difference at 50 cents. I understand.
So you're not going for furs at all this year, at least on the raccoon side of things. Because I remember we talked last year, you wanted a blanket out of them.
Yeah.
Coyotes, right?
Yeah.
Oh, was that the coyotes?
Yeah.
So I'm selling pretty much everything on the round. I'm selling the black coyote is going to taxidermy market, $300.
Damn.
I'm holding on to him for now, because if I catch the blonde, I might have to get him mounted.
So is the black you have the male in
Yeah.
that group.
Yeah.
So now you're missing Goldilocks.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't.
And
make
it's
that
been-
connection before.
I
Was
caught,
that the one you
I
caught
caught
that?
him on the third day of the season.
Yes.
Second, I think it was the third day. Yeah.
Yep. It was either. Yeah.
It was the third day, and I caught a typical color one of the pups, like a mile away.
Yeah. I
Maybe
remember-
half mile away. I don't know. It was a ways. I don't think they were running. I mean, they might have been running together, but so when I caught him, the other snare on the trail was knocked down.
So there was another one running. What do you think you missed? Her?
I think I missed her, or he was by himself. Maybe she got shot by a bow hunter, and she's no longer around, and he
Which was-
just ducked the snare and missed it.
knocked one, hit another.
Yeah, knocked the one, hit the next one, or she knocked it down.
So
too.
now, as somebody that's looking to get into, and we're going to talk about gray foxes later because those are the first two you caught, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to talk about that.
I've
in a
shot
minute.
some before, but I've never caught them before.
Do you find? So I have seen a lot of pictures here lately of guys setting basic cables, and what I mean by basic cables is undipped, unpainted. Do you find in the fox world and coyote world a difference between not coyote, fox and coon, a difference between dipped and undipped snares or cable restraints?
I can't really speak to it because I spray paint or dip all
You
mine.
dip everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now
Is that
when
just for longevity?
no, just to hide them, mainly from people.
I was going to say because a snare or a cable restraint is
Yeah.
only basically a one-use deal.
Yeah, I'll reuse the extension sometimes, but if they caught a coyote, I don't want to reuse that extension and catch another coyote because
Fine,
those ferals get pounded on. So I actually have a little collection.
Of course you
This
do.
is look, I have literally
besides that,
yeah, literally handfuls of snare parts in my. The whole pocket's full of the snare swivels and stuff that I've cut out of used cables in the last couple weeks.
Coleby, I have to say, I met Fred, and that was one of the coolest trapping experiences I've done.
Fred's a hell of a guy.
Yes, he'll probably never listen to this a day in his life, but you got it going on, dude. The funniest thing was, we're getting off topic here, but I'm sitting there, I bought the DPs off of him, and I got the collar on, and we're sitting there just bullshitting. You know what he showed me? A 110 conibear. He put a pan on it.
Yeah.
And you know what he said? The law only tells you it has to be under the waterline. I mean, like, there's nothing illegal about it at all.
Yeah.
He's doing
It
the right
doesn't say
thing.
what kind of.
How
Like
you
there's
can
all
set
different
it.
kind of triggers you can put
Yeah.
on it too. Like some people run one trigger, like they'll cut one prong off.
Yeah.
If you're trying to catch beaver and let the otter go through, you cut one of the prongs off and slide it all the way over to the left. When a big beaver goes through, he's gonna get caught. When an otter goes through,
An otter diameter is a lot
yeah,
smaller.
and
than
they're a
beaver.
lot slicker. They can just like trying to snare mink the same way. Mink are like, I got a bunch. I got more mink snares out now than I do for coyotes.
Have you caught a mink yet?
Not this year.
Not this year.
I just set for them 2 or 3 days ago.
So anyway, what I
I
was
got
going to
back from
say.
vacation Thursday, so I set Friday or Saturday for them.
I got you. So back to what I was saying is, like, I'm assuming during the trapping school we probably met the biggest trappers in New Jersey.
Some of them.
Some
There's a lot of older guys that don't.
Like the
don't
talk.
show face.
Yeah, there's
Which
guys that are way better than me. I mean, most of those guys have been trapping for way longer than I've been alive. You know.
Which I have to say, I have, and Ryan could probably attest this, I have fallen in love with raccoon trapping in the last 2 years. I think it's awesome. I think it's fun. It's exciting. Every day I get home from Ryan, I got home, I shot one raccoon today. Out of, I think
I noticed he was in a better mood.
I had 19 traps set, one raccoon. And that's all it took to make my day. But it's very easy to see that, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to word this without, like, blowing your head up. But, like, you take this to a whole, you don't just love it, Like you just told us before the podcast.
It's my life.
You're going to wake up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning to go shoot a couple raccoons.
Yeah.
Maybe not a couple. You probably,
Hopefully a couple.
Yeah.
Hopefully at least a couple.
Yeah. And that, like,
Couple dozen.
I set 19. I walked. I think my phone said I walked 1.5 miles checking on my traps today. I caught one and I was ecstatic. And I'm fat. I hate to walk.
He walked back. He said, "Fuck that walk."
I did. I pulled my 5 traps I had on that set, but I hadn't caught in 2 days. And I mean, now let me ask you this about raccoons, because I feel like we've learned a lot from you. What's your time limit on a DP set? If you know they're in the area.
Depending on the situation. So, like, you saw I absolutely annihilated raccoons first couple days.
Yeah.
That was mostly travel hubs with that added draw station. Like I said, where there
I saw you caught a bunch on with corn. But
yeah. So, like, some of them had bait, some of them hadn't had bait in over a week. But what it is I got them so used to when they're in the area every night, if they're denning, if they're like staying there, like the raccoons are living right there and the raccoons are on circuits when they're in the area, they know there might be something cool over there. There might be a dead fish or a scoop of cat food, or there's a stump over there that really smells like frying oil. Like,
also,
I mean?
I'm seriously going to save my bacon grease.
Yeah, bacon grease killer. So they're so used, like, it's programmed into them that, hey, we got all night. It don't get daylight till 6:30. We're gonna go out. We're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna go check that out. It might be a mile away, but we're gonna go check that out tonight because there might be something cool there. There might be other raccoons there. There might, be somebody new that's coming there that I've never met before, and they might have pissed there, or took a crap there, or whatever. So it's like curiosity and food.
Curiosity killed the coon.
And scent. Yes. It's like territory, food, and curiosity combined, all three. That's why I wiped them out in a couple days, and then it was just a couple stragglers. Like I was catching, 5, 6 in a day, which was a lot less than the 20-some that I was catching opening day. So usually, if it's just a trail, like just a normal trail, I'll trap it for a week to a week and a half, and then I'm comfortable pulling out. I'm sure I missed some, but
you still put a hurting on it.
Yeah, and when I do it that way, like I just set some up yesterday that I did it this way. The hammer trails will get however many I think they need. If they need 2 DPs or 3 DPs, I'll put 2 or 3. If they only need 1, I'll put 1. And then all the other definite raccoon trails, like this is a raccoon trail, they all get 1. So any raccoon traveling, no matter what trail he uses, in my line, like anytime I'm really setting that way for any type of critter, I'll set up like a line that they can't cross this line without me catching them. You know what I mean? In theory. Whereas unless they're just crawling through some briars where they don't normally go to get through the line, they're going to encounter a trap to get across that lane or that road or that field edge, whatever. That's mainly for fox and raccoons. Coyotes works good too. Coyotes I usually just hit. They're going to use the trails that they're going to use on all properties: the corners, the pinch points, the funnels, the focal points.
Trees in the middle of a field.
Yeah. That's the stuff that they're all going to use no matter what property you're on, unless it's something, crazy where there's been people there and they've, it affects their behavior or something like that. But their typical coyote behavior, they're all going to use the trails in a set, like, column of things that would make them use the trail. Unless they're hunting. If they're traveling, they're going to use those. If they're hunting, then they'll be, the downwind side of something, and if they smell something, they're going to cut through.
Wherever they got to be.
Yeah. They might go in a grass field, and instead of just running the edge on the tire track or the field edge, they're going to go in there and hunt for
rabbits. Catch a rabbit scent, follow it through the field. Also, I don't realize, like, rabbits are fucking stupid. I do set primarily, I would say at night, because my work schedule and stuff, working like Fridays and stuff, I go set Friday nights. The amount of times I've come up on a rabbit and it just sits there, like,
Yeah. I had it. Well, it didn't just sit there, but I walked up. I was just walking in to check a DP today, and big dentry. This dentry is the most beautiful dentry I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think I trapped it for 5 days before I left for vacation. I caught 3 raccoons and a possum in those 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
It was 4 catches, and I only had 1 DP there. Since I've been back, I
so
haven't.
just back to back to back to back
Yeah,
before you went.
I think I wiped out the ones that were mainly using dentry. But what I'll do is I'm getting ready to pull that one probably tomorrow. What I'll do is when I come back to that area trapping during breeding season,
Oh, yeah.
the dentries get set.
Yeah.
Every single dentry will get set. Like right now, I'll kind of back off the dentries because there's family groups living in them. You don't want to educate them all. Just like a bait pile, you don't want to
Yeah.
stick all your DPs on a bait pile. Catch it, half of them, and then the other 2 or the other half are like, I ain't doing that.
I was gonna say,
You
so
know what I
when you set a bait pile or a draw area,
Mhm.
are you putting 6 DPs or are you putting 2 to catch the 2 ones that are mainly using it, and then let the other so many
So
go for?
what I usually do is I judge by the sign. If they're digging, if they're pulling the ground up and there's raccoon tracks everywhere and there's poop on a log, 10 yards away or whatever, I'll set what I think it needs to be set. If there's I didn't use trail cameras on them this year, but that guy you were talking about where I annihilated his raccoons, he had trail cameras. So I knew how many was there, and I knew that, okay, there's only 1 raccoon coming and he's not interested in traps. I'm pulling out of here.
Fair enough.
So, this is kind of just a stupid thing that I thought could be a public service announcement. I want to say it before I forget. I didn't realize, so I was always under the assumption that if you weren't checking every 24 hours, your traps had to be pulled. And that's not the case. If
No, they
for
can't be
DPs,
set.
they can't be set. So if you put a stick in there to show it's obviously
not
not
even
being
that.
set.
I just
Right
walk
now.
by and kick the trigger. And
You
let
can get
it go
away
off.
with that.
Once again, why I bought a $70 gun? I walk by with the barrel of my gun, I smack the fucking trap.
Yeah.
So I thought you could get kind of jammed up with that with game wardens, it's just triggered. It
Nothing
something
they can-
triggered
like
it.
the
You
law
didn't check
says-
it in 24 hours.
Yeah, it's if they're set. There's almost everybody I think does it. Cable restraints have to be pulled down all the way, so they're not set. They have to be technically have to be touching the loop. They're the loop stop, deer stop. Loop stop's the other end, but. Oh yeah, that's the guy. Yeah,
Yep, I figured as much.
cool dude.
Is
He had a lot of raccoons. Yeah,
Yeah,
Him and
yeah,
his
I
buddy.
know.
Yeah.
I know. Go ahead, sorry. I was just looking for that.
I forget where I was. Where was I?
I'm talking about pulling your snares
Yes.
closed.
So
or
like
your
mink
cable.
right now, I have the mink snares out. I have a couple conibears out. The conibears, I'll just kick them. They'll go off. I'll leave them or whatever. Stick a stick in them, something. The mink snares, there's no deer stop. They're actually a snare. There's no stop to limit the. So
let
what I
me
do.
ask you this real quick, so I can edit this out.
Mhm.
Is that illegal?
No.
Because it's
unsettle?
so small
What do you mean?
for a
'Cause it-
mink. So you said there's no deer stop on a mink.
Yes,
restraint.
because it has to be less than 4 inch or less than 2 inch diameter.
Okay.
It has to close farther.
Because
That's why
a
it
mink's
has to
neck
be.
is only like an inch. And
Yeah, that's part of the
Gotcha.
reason it has to be within 50 feet of water or tidal water,
Gotcha.
high tide line,
Gotcha.
because of the deer stop issue. Which
Yes.
I can't really see catching a deer in a mink snare, and if you do,
I was
If
going to say that
the
you're
one
setting
in-
them like this, right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
loop is 2 inches.
Yeah.
A deer's
Yeah.
foot is big. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
deer's foot
Yeah.
is almost that big.
You
Yeah.
leg trap it.
They would have to physically walk up and look at it and be like, I'm going to put my hoof through that loop and pull on it. I've never heard of it happen. I don't
Okay.
think it
Yeah.
really could. But if you're unsetting mink snares, there's no deer stop for it to be pulled down to.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, in my take of the law, it has to be unset. If you pull it all the way down, especially if it's got a gooseneck, like where where the snare
A kink and
yeah. So with that, you can completely unset it to where it's like the lock is flipped backwards, and it's the snare or the loop or the cable just goes straight through the lock. That's unset. So that's what the mink snare unset would be. It'd have to be pulled all the way down to where it couldn't close any farther. So it'd have to be completely. Whereas with a deer stop, any dry land cable restraint is going to have a deer stop, and then you just pull it down to the deer stop.
So with the mink snares, in that case, would it just be easier just to knock them down and lay them to the side if you're not going to set them for a week or so?
Mink snares are actually easier to set the way I run them, the way most guys run them, I think. So I pretty much only have two setups for that. It's just either a red brick with the holes in it.
Yeah.
You can put the wire through it, wire your swivel right to that, and then use the tail of the wire that you tied it off with to stick up to put your whammy on, and then it's like the perfect height, and you just set it right next to the trail. And then if you're trapping, say, like a wall edge under a bridge or along rocks or something, you can just set it there, like and it makes you set it next to the trail, and say the wall's on the right and the brick's on the left, and then there's the trail in the middle. That physically gives them a passage to walk through, and they want to walk through it anyway because mink just want to go through every little nook and cranny they can get in.
It's the same thing as setting like a fox cable restraint under a log. If you put up a couple branches, make them really want to funnel through that open hole. And
then the other setup I use is just like a piece of rebar, about 18 inches, and then I weld a nut on top or a T-handle type thing. And then your swivel will go to the rebar. Either put the rebar through the swivel, as long as the swivel's still working, because you need the swivel to work for the mink, because mink will roll.
Twist, turn.
Yeah. So either through it, as long as there's enough room in there for it to function properly, or wire it to it, or quick link or split ring. Split ring be easier, but most of mine are just 3/8 rebar stuck through the regular end swivel, and then I have a piece of wire holding it in place so it can't slip down or up, which isn't necessary if there's a top on it. You know what I mean? And then that wire will stick out 3-4 inches. Stick your whammy on there, and then if you're trapping tidal marsh or next to a pond, which you're going to be for mink anyway, as per the law and as per where the mink want to be.
Yes.
If the ground's soft, you can just push it down the ground until it's 2-3 inches off the ground, and it's set.
Yeah.
Very effective. Instead of messing with like extension cables and earth anchors and all that you would for dry land.
You just have your one anchor and
either a brick or a piece of rebar. Everything I do, I try to keep everything identical. Like my cable restraints, I think I've shown you how I run those with Ron Jones' Coyote Pro 52 or Coyote Pro 60 or whatever.
Yeah, the 52, right?
52 is really for a shock spring. It's kind of short.
Okay.
So I prefer the 60 just for a little more length there for your extension. But I run wolf fang anchors on them. I pull them down to the deer stop, hang them up, paint them all. If I'm painting 2 dozen or 5 dozen or 10 dozen, whatever. Hang them all up, paint them all. I prefer if they're new, I'll dip them one time and then paint them because the dip will stay on
I was
the
going to say, I talked to you about this before. I tried painting all my extensions and my cable restraints last year.
The paint comes off of them over time.
They're silver in 3 months.
Yeah.
Even if I don't use them.
Yeah.
Now, the nuts that you welded on there or tacked on there, they're black. But it just seems like with the spray paint, like it soaks into those strands and all that. And it doesn't last. I did I sent you the screenshot. I bought you the Formula One.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll pull them all the way down to the deer stop, hang them up, paint them, or dip them and then paint them, one of the two. And then I'll roll them up, and I know that going around my finger twice is the will take me to the inline swivel,
Okay.
and then it's like 2 more wraps, and now I'm to the loop-to-loop connection for the earth anchor.
Yep.
And then I'll wrap that earth anchor around the circle, around it, and through the loop where the actual snare loop.
Yeah.
Wrap it through there once and wrap it around, and it'll go around twice, and it holds that thing. So you can literally take it in your hand and throw it, and when it comes down, it will never get tangled. You can throw 100 of them in a basket, and they will not get tangled. You can just pull one out, and it's ready to go.
You're going to have to show me how to do that because I have a backpack, and I have a hard time getting DPs out of a backpack.
Yeah, I'll give you a tip for that, too. But then some of them I have, like, I buy some of Snare One's Newt's.
That's Ron Deal, right?
Yeah, he builds them, yeah. Yep. But anyway, I'll buy some of those with longer extensions. They're just as good as Ron's. They're both very, very good cable manufacturers or cable restraint manufacturers.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. So and they abide everything by the New Jersey law.
Which
so you don't have to worry about buying some bullshit that's not legal.
Yeah.
So for new trappers, if you don't completely know the regulations, you know what you're buying when you buy from a New Jersey legal cable restraint that's built in New Jersey.
Yes.
So anyway, with those, I'll just wrap them up the same way, but when I get to the end, the last, say, 15 inches of the cable restraint or the extension cable, I'll wrap that around the same way I would the earth anchor, and then that's not going to get tangled up. And I have some that I built myself that have like 30-foot extensions for for certain situations that I won't go into, but there's sometimes that you got to catch them out where people will see them, and then you want to get them.
You want them to run back in the brush.
You want them back in. You want them tangled up, mangled up in the brush. Nobody's going to know they're there, and they're just laying there hiding from people. People can walk right by, drive right by. It doesn't matter. They're not going to know.
I was going to ask you that. So I've noticed, and I've actually had to explain this to a couple people. Like, I just got permission on a lady's property a couple nights ago, and she said, "Well, am I going to see this raccoon if it gets caught?" And I said, every time I've come up to a raccoon,
it's laying there sleeping, or laying down looking at you.
Yes, either they're as tight as they can get to a tree if it's in a little, like today. The raccoon I caught was in a tree in the middle of a open lane, and that coon was as tucked up to the tree as it could possibly be.
Yep, they want to be out of sight.
And if there's not that opportunity to get into a little nook or cranny of a tree or anything,
down as low as they can.
They're laying down with their face covered.
Yep.
And I was wondering, do coyotes kind of feel the same way? I know you say coyotes cower a lot.
Yeah.
Do they, if there's an opportunity, like even if you're in the frag, are they as tucked back as they can?
Yeah. They'll when you start approaching them, they'll get up and freak out. Like once they realize he saw me, then they want to get away.
Gotcha.
But what they don't like, which is another reason I use those real long extension cables, they're like 20, 30 foot long. They don't like being staked out in the open, which it's better for me in a lot of ways because the coyote's unharmed. It's harder on your equipment. It's harder on your inline swivel, your ferrules, your entire cable restraint, really.
But if it's a shorter...
That's why we use a shorter one, so they don't have as big of a catch circle. They can't get as much momentum running back and forth across the catch circle.
Yep.
But if they're staked out in the open, say they're staked out on a field edge and there's a road 50 yards away or whatever, you can't do that. People are going to be walking their dog and they're going to see a coyote, and the coyote's going to say, they see me, they're going to start freaking out. Dogs, they're walking a dog. Yeah. So if you use that long extension cable, they'll get tucked back in the woods. Nobody will know they're there. You might have to track them down when you get there because you're not going to see them. You go in and follow the
I was going to say,
cable.
Is that even a little easier for you to check traps? Where if you see that, not only is it knocked down, but if it's going.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's easier if I'm trapped in private ground where nobody's going to be.
That's fair.
Those short extension cables, they can't beat it up. They're hard on it because they run. They do not like being staked in the open at all. You walk up to them, they're doing backflips. They're trying to get out like hell. When they're hidden, they don't even care if they're caught. They'll just lay down, go to sleep. They're out of sight, out of mind.
So with that 30 foot, where are you anchoring? Back in the woods, or you're anchoring out there, and then they have the
No, I'll
opportunity-
anchor it in the woods. They'll get caught out in the open. When they hit the end of the extent, they'll run. It'll close on them.
Yeah.
They'll be walking. It'll close on. They'll feel the lock hit the back of their neck, and they'll be like, "What was that?" Take off, lunging or whatever. When they hit the end of that, first thing to do is bang a left or right wherever the closest brush is, and run right into it. And then they'll get tangled up in whatever, or they'll just be in the briars hiding. Typically, they'll get wrapped around a tree or some sort of entanglement.
Yep.
But you can't earth anchor them though, right? Because that if they get all that momentum, they could yank that earth anchor right out, right?
Because when they're fighting that with a long extension cable, they're fighting everything that they're wrapped in. So
even
like,
if they ran straight out in the open, you don't.
yeah, they're only going to hit it once, and then they're going to run in the brush and get. They're only going to hit the end of that. They're only going to put pressure on that once, and then they're going to get. The first time they go around a tree, there's all the weights on that tree.
If you're setting a lane, let's say, I mean, you're probably only giving them 4 inches, 5 inches of slack from your earth anchor point.
Yeah.
And then they have to run back through the brush where they're going to get tangled and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
That's why I'll just anchor to a tree or whatever is up in the woods. It is nicer for hiding them. For checking them, there's nothing better than driving down a farm lane on a piece of private property where nobody goes, and you bang a left around a bend, and there's a coyote in a farm lane,
Just waiting on you.
just waiting on you, and then you look down the road, and there's another one in the corner, and he's staked, and he's got the whole corner blown out, the trail's all blown out, and he's sitting in the middle of it. It's great, and it gives a better impression, I think, in my opinion, for people that say the property owner that knows you're trapping. He's going deer hunting, or he's going for a golf cart ride with his kids or something.
Yep.
They come across it, and coyote's not harmed. Coyote's laying in a catch circle or standing in a catch circle, unharmed, not tangled up, no blood, no nothing. A lot of states have no entanglement laws. New Jersey, we do not, which is very
Really?
thankful. Yeah, so we have the same cable restraint regulations besides the no entanglement.
So the no entangle, I mean, you couldn't go set that 30
Correct.
yard extension.
They would have to be staked where they
shit.
can't wrap around anything more than 1 inch or a half-inch diameter. Most states are.
Which I'm assuming means they wouldn't be able to use that like a snare.
Correct.
Where if they pull back, it's tightening.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So, but those states also, I believe most of them or all of them that have that no entanglement regulation can also use foot
For hold
traps.
traps, yeah.
So they have more tools in their tool
Yes.
bag for different situations.
Yeah.
I would be fine with it if I had no entanglement laws. I don't want no entanglement laws because I just explained why it's a good thing to use entanglement.
Especially with state properties and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I agree 100%.
Coyotes are hardest on cable when they're entanglement and still in the open. Like say there's a light brush, it's like 1 inch diameter. They'll destroy.
Like a hedgerow?
Yeah, they'll destroy it there. Like if they're in the open, they're not hidden, but there's entanglement, and they can get that swivel fouled. They're gonna, as soon as that swivel's fouled, they're gonna start rolling. And when they start rolling, the cable either unravels or kinks up. And either way, for one, it tightens on them, but it also will break because it's just like if you take a piece of wire and you sit there and eventually it's going to pop. And if you unravel a cable, just like if you took a rope and twisted it against its natural twist, it's going to unravel. The cable does the same
I'm
exact
going to
thing.
say, instead of having a 7-strand leg cable, now you have just 7
single strands that they can yank against and break.
gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like a 1x19 cables, one strand, 19 strands.
Yep.
19 single strands. 7x7 is, I think, what's that? 49 individual strands.
Yep.
So when that
7
unravels,
twisted.
that 7x7 is 49 little tiny wires that they can
very easy
they can
to
just
pop.
bite it and break a couple of them, bite it and break a couple of them. And they're not nearly as strong. The breaking strength of that cable is only like 800 and some pounds.
I was saying, I know we asked you last year, have you yet to have a coyote pop a cable?
Only because of what I just explained with light entanglement. And that's something I learned and now I don't set like I changed the way I set, and it doesn't happen anymore.
That's good.
A lot of people lose coyotes from that like light entanglement. If you anchor to a big tree, they're not able to do it. They just, I don't know why they just don't. I guess they don't roll when they get that swivel wrapped around the tree or whatever.
Gotcha.
But if they're set with light entanglement in the open, they're terrible on cable, and they'll break it all the time. Especially 7x7, they will destroy a 7x7.
Have you ever had a cable you could reuse from a coyote?
Actually, yeah, I don't. But
I
a couple
figured
times.
you wouldn't.
The black one I just caught the third day of the season. Last Christmas Day, I caught another black coyote almost identical to it on the same trail.
Really?
On the same trail, on the same exact spot. The earth anchors were less than 2 inches apart. I'm not kidding. If you look at the pictures, it looks like the same coyote and same trail, but it's not.
Really?
Like well, you saw Snapchats.
Yeah.
Two different coyotes. Like, I don't know. Just weird chances, coincidence, I guess. I call it Black Coyote Trail now because I caught two coyotes on it. Both of them were black in the same exact spot, and they looked identical. But if you look at the pictures, there's a briar that hangs out to that trail, and there's some briars on the left, and then there's that briar that hangs out in the pictures. It's on the right, and the snare was set right between them on the back side of it. Both of the coyotes did not touch that briar. They didn't. The first one chewed it up a little bit, and but the ground is all like Virginia ivy.
Yes.
And there's no catch circle. It's insane. I don't know why. I've only seen it a couple times, but those coyotes, both of them, did not fight the cable hard.
Just backed up against it. And
they just kind of laid down, and that's where they were.
So, one thing I wanted to get into before we let go of you, did you happen to do the DNA test? Because I remember you talking about last year before when we had you on, you were going to do a DNA test on a black coyote.
I did it.
How did that come back? Came back
9.6% gray wolf, 10% Welsh sheepdog. I don't know why the hell it came back that
Don't
way.
let Aaron hear that.
Yeah, Welsh sheepdog. Is that what you have?
Hers is a sheepdog boxer mix.
Okay. Yeah, 10% Welsh sheepdog, basically 10% wolf, and then 80.4% coyote. Which when I got the results, I got an email that said my DNA test results are in from Embark, I think it was I used. And I was like, I was driving and I pulled over because I was so excited, right? So I pull over, I'm like, no way. I was actually out checking traps, and I stopped everything I was doing. I was like, and it wouldn't freaking load because I didn't have service, right? So I'm refreshing it. I'm freaking out, and I drove 100 yards down the road until I saw I had service, and I stopped again and refreshed it, and it popped up, and I opened it, and I was like, oof, they are part wolf.
I was going to say, because that's something that's really intrigued me for a long time about the northeastern coyote.
Yeah.
So this is not a natural range for them.
No.
And what a lot of people say, and the first ever thing I heard about coyotes was a documentary on National Geographic. They were talking about how they came from Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. And when they traveled up, they hit Michigan, Wisconsin, western Pennsylvania, and they bred with northern gray wolves. And that's why our coyotes, it's not uncommon. You can, if you disagree, let me know. It's not super uncommon to see a 50-pound coyote in New Jersey, Maine, New York.
You go out west, they're 20, maybe 30 at the most.
They call it a really big coyote is 40 to 42 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a massive coyote.
So
where here, a 35 to a 45-pound coyote is, I would assume, very common.
Yeah. So when I got those results, I was sitting in my truck damn, should I even tell anybody this? But the rumors are they're coy wolves, they're coy dogs, they're part dog.
Yeah.
So I'm
Which I remember is why you wanted to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was trying to disprove it, and I did disprove it because, in a way. So the reason I even shared that, I posted on a couple Facebook pages and stuff. So the reason I did that is if you look up northeastern coyote, it pops up coy wolf, 30% wolf. They're only they'd say 60% coyote, 30% wolf, 10% dog. You can't breed you can't breed that wolf percentage higher. It's not going to happen
because there's no wolves.
There's no wolves breeding. You can't breed the dog population unless the Do they breed with dogs in New Jersey? Probably not.
Probably not.
Maybe once in a while. But you're not going to breed that wolf genetic back in.
Yes.
It's going to fade out the farther you go down the line. It's been generations now. So when they did that study, however many years ago it was, I think it was 2016. But you got to figure 2016, it's been a couple generations.
9 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And the coyotes, like, that's what, 4 generations?
Yeah, I mean, they can live, I think, up to like 14 years in captivity or something, but they're only living a few years in a while. In reality, maybe they might live to be 4 or 5.
Especially
or
with
something.
you around.
Yeah, their mortality rate's a lot higher in Quentin. So, but it's been generations since that study, and now that percentage of wolf is a lot lower, and I think it's going to keep dropping.
But even then, almost 10% is still pretty damn high.
And that's where our color phases come from. Is the wolf, the dog, the mixed genetics cause that, I believe. It's not like a pigmentation disorder or something. It's genetic. So that's the reason I posted it, because I wanted to post it. I knew there was going to be a lot of, they're coy wolves, they're coy dogs. But when you research it, the percentage is lower than what people are saying it is. A lot lower. A third, a third of the wolf genetics that people say they are.
Yep.
Now,
ask a question. I got a piss.
were you the one that was telling us that some of the coyote problem was due to insurance companies trying to keep the deer down?
No, they're just migrated. People say that it's insurance companies, so you got to think about it this way.
Get a tag, like some of them have had tags that were recovered.
I think it's South Carolina, which I'm actually supposed to go to South Carolina trapping. That's on my list. I have some property down there I'm supposed to go hit, and then I actually just picked up some property in I think it's North Dakota or South Dakota. North Dakota.
Nice.
Sure. A guy from here, I trap his property. He moved out there. I don't think he owns farmland, but the ranchers out there absolutely have a vengeance. He used to be a guide? Yes. You know
I
what
know
I'm
who you're
talking
talking about.
So anyway, I'm supposed to be going out there. I'll probably go out there later season. I gotta get my numbers up here before I move out of state. But South Carolina has a bounty program where they tag. I don't know how many coyotes. I don't think they release the numbers on how many there are. They might. I'd have to look it up. But it's $3,000 to kill a coyote that has an ear tag. And the purpose of that is to get people out to kill coyotes because the fur market's so low. So it's an incentive. Like, sure, they might only be worth $10, $15 a piece if we're lucky. But if I catch one of those $3,000 ones, and if I catch 2 of them,
it makes it really worth it.
Yeah, I just saw on a taxidermy page a couple days ago on Facebook that somebody brought in a coyote. It was double ear tagged from South Carolina. Yeah, it was jet black, and they got it mounted with the ear tags in it. So they got their $3,000, and then they paid probably $1,500 to get it mounted or whatever.
It's still a payday.
And you got a lifetime trophy that people probably won't even believe you unless you show them the pictures of it. So that's and. The fur market down south, the live market down there, that's where people are saying they see the videos of people catching coyotes and putting them in a dog crate, and they say that's where the coyotes in New Jersey came from.
But you don't think that's actually what's going on
So
here.
what those guys do, if they were selling them like that, they would either charge way more money. First of all, they get like $150 for a coyote. Yeah. Selling at live market, so they ain't killing them. They're putting them in a dog crate, and taking them to the fox pen, and selling them. So. If they were selling to the state of New Jersey or insurance companies, they're going to charge more than that, especially if they have to sign a contract saying they're not going to tell anybody.
I'm sure you said something about this, but
I just asked him about
the rumors about Geico tag coyotes in New Jersey, 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah, that's just people that have hunted here all their life.
That never saw coyotes. Even though they were in the state since 1929, I think. Something like that. It's been a while since they found their way to PA, New Jersey, New York.
Yeah. But if you look at all the states like Delaware's estimated coyote population, last time I looked, was 50 coyotes. Yeah. And that's because of the C&D Canal, I think. They're all north of that, I think. Which they can cross that whenever they want. They just... There's not high enough density for them to
want to move across.
Yeah. And I'm sure there is some, south of that, but just
I was going to say, you don't hear a lot of stories about coyotes in Maryland or Virginia. Yeah. West Virginia, yes.
And like New Jersey's, I think Fish and Wildlife estimated it at like 3,000 in New Jersey.
You think there's more than that?
Me and Dean McKee killed like 50 last year.
I was gonna say,
And that's just in this area,
just in our town.
I was gonna say, and everybody you talk to, and just in Salem County, like, yo, do you have coyotes on your property? Oh yeah, we hear them every night.
Yeah.
Or we hear them on the neighbor's property every night, or
And
we
we've
hear
heard
them.
them.
I hear them back here.
Yeah.
And there's proof that there's at least a band of 5 coyotes behind my house.
Yeah.
I
Wish
think
I
there's
could
a lot
trap
more
them,
than
but-
3,000. Well, the only way I could play devil's advocate for that is maybe up north there, isn't it?
North Jersey's loaded with them.
Yes.
So
Same
yeah,
people
so that would disprove
People aren't
that.
trapping them up there as
Yeah.
much because, one, it's harder ground to trap. I think it's more woods, rocks.
Slopey, rocky woods.
Mountains.
Yeah, you really
Yeah.
want to scale a mountain to catch
Yeah.
a coyote.
Yeah, like the coyote's worth $10. Am I going to climb that mountain every day for 2 weeks to catch it?
Yeah.
No.
But you walk through
And
the frags every day to
They're
catch
overran with bobcats, and you can't catch them.
Ooh, that's a predicament.
And that's such an incidental thing.
yes.
Which I don't know if you saw the post on Facebook about all that, where one ended up at a wildlife refuge, and
I didn't
there's
see
pictures- there was-
anything about a bobcat.
yeah, the same place posted a bobcat that came in that was in a cable restraint.
Also, just not to get off too topic, I did a little bit of research into that page. They
They're
have
nut jobs.
zero clue about the laws in New Jersey about
I know.
trapping.
They're actually in New York. I think they're right over the line.
There's
in New
2
York.
of them.
Is there?
They have a station in. I don't want to say the name on here because I could be wrong, but I know there's a station in North Jersey where they took a couple raccoons and I guess the bobcat. They have no fucking clue. There
No.
was people
There
commenting
was-
talking about, oh, well, you can't shoot a 22 in New Jersey, so they just all bludgeon them. And dude,
There's so much misinformation on that. I got in an argument with somebody on it. I shouldn't even engage in that
that's
shit.
I looked at it
I
and
had
I
to
got
change my
off of it.
Facebook profile to private to people that I'm not friends with because these
Because of
people are
that?
after me over this.
Yeah.
But this lady posted about about the whole squirrel hunt competition thing, the tournaments they're trying to end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that all started from a squirrel tournament where they were getting kids into
Yep.
the outdoors shooting
Yep.
squirrels.
It's the dumbest law New Jersey's
This
ever
lady-
passed.
I got the screenshot. This lady commented on one of that wildlife refuge posts. They were bashing hunting
Yep.
in New Jersey. This lady commented about. She said that a few years ago there was an event hosted by a local fire department in New Jersey where they had kids killing squirrels for money, and you could kill them any way you wanted, and you could just kill them however, like you could just hit them with something, kill them, like
Have you ever
Like,
tried to run down a fucking
that is
squirrel?
so stupid.
Yeah, that's
Like
the
you
dumbest shit
can't
I've
just
ever
squirrel hunt with whatever. You can't
Yeah.
squirrel hunt with a bazooka or a machine gun
No.
or a rock.
heard. Yeah, you're not gonna
Or
go.
a rock.
You're not gonna chase one around with a golf club.
Yeah.
Like, you find somebody that has the velocity and accuracy with a rock to hit a squirrel.
Yeah, like,
you
it
call
just-
me.
It just aggravates me to see these people that have no
Concept.
not even the slightest. They live in their apartment and they've never even seen a coyote, and they're telling you, "No, the coyotes don't kill anything. They don't do anything wrong. They're not hurting anybody."
It's
Why do
the
you kill 'em?
Disneyfication of.
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
is.
So we
It comes
talked
down
about
to.
this
They
with
just-
the bear
They don't
hunt.
know anything about the outdoors, and they're trying to dictate our lives, and it just aggravates the shit out of me.
We talked about this with the bear hunt. The only reason they reinstated a bear hunt is because some little girl got attacked by a bear outside of a school ground, and Murphy was backed into a corner. And you know how many,
you guys were right.
you know how many bear they killed in the first 3 days? So I don't know if you remember this. When they announced the first bear season after the ban, they announced it on. You had to buy your permit on a Friday. They came out Friday morning and it was like, okay, bear season's open for 5 days, and it's the next 5 days you have to buy your permits within this allotted time. You know how many bear they killed in the first 3 days? It's like 330 bears, like that.
Yeah.
And Murphy, it still stood in that corner. Was like, we don't have a problem with bears. Somebody just told me, and I had kind of known this information for a while. New Jersey has the densest black bear population in the United States.
Really?
Yes, per capita. Per capita. There might be more in Colorado, Montana, stuff like that, but per capita, we have the densest bear population.
That's even according
That's-
to Rogan. He said it a few times. You come here for
And
that.
like, if you look at coyote density,
Big bears, too. There was a
We have the-
770-pound bear killed.
dress.
Bear.
Yeah.
If you look at coyote densities per state, like if you go out west, like I was talking about, northwest or
Southwest.
north North Dakota. I'm supposed to be going North Dakota coyote trapping and South Carolina.
That's cool. Oh,
Yes.
don't catch a red wolf. Oh, that's North Carolina, right? Where they got that little island where they reintroduced the red wolves and coyotes moved in.
I know southeast. I think like New Mexico, they have them.
Yes,
they're protected. But so if you look at coyote densities per state, it gives you an idea of how bad our coyote population is not here. Like how much worse it's going to get if we don't
do anything about it.
If we don't keep trapping and hunting and all that. If you do the math per square mile, I should have wrote it down. I did all the math the other night because I'm a freak. And I'm just, like,
You're a fiend for coyotes?
Yeah, I'm just obsessed with this shit. But I did the math, and it's like it equaled out to like 1 coyote per 2 square miles.
That doesn't surprise me.
So 1 coyote every 2 square miles.
And square miles is not a lot.
Texas, it's like 1 to 10 coyotes per square, or 5 to 10 coyotes per square mile or something it came out to be.
Oh, really?
Yes. So per square mile. And down there it's all, a lot of it's open plains or whatever, you can see a square. You can stand in a field in a cattle pasture and see a square mile.
Yeah.
That's how dense their coyote population is. Kansas is just like you see guys in Kansas calling in coyotes and they're calling in 5, 6 coyotes in a stand. They're killing 20 of them in a day. A group of guys go out and kill 15, 20 coyotes and have a blast. But it gives you an idea. You can call all season here, and a good coyote caller is lucky to kill 5.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah,
he's very like. There's guys that travel all over the place that live in New Jersey, and they travel all over other states. They go out on trips and they kill a bunch of coyotes and bobcats and fox and gray.
But they're not killing many here.
Stuff. They come here and they're lucky to kill a few a year.
Now, does that have? I know we're talking about the density, but is that also the witness of the coyote here? Oh, the terrain?
I would say the terrain. Like down there, you're shooting rifles or out there.
So you could be shooting 200-yard shots at a coyote, where here you have to take a 50-yard shot.
You can see them coming. You can shoot long distance. Here, it's like South Jersey, just our woods is thick. To get them to come out of the woods is very difficult. Our density is so low that you can hit, 5, 10 stands before a coyote even hears you.
Yeah.
That's why I don't even bother coyote hunting. Then you finally get one to come in, and our regulations are so screwed up. You finally get one to come in, you got your legal shells in your gun, and it runs into 20 yards, and you shoot it in the chest, and it spins around in a circle and runs off. You never see it again.
So you have to use buckshot, and you can't use a rifle at night, and I understand that 100%.
So if I were to get back into it, which I've been thinking about it, I would be a daytime coyote caller. I would call during the day with a rifle.
Fair enough.
In open farmland.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go and,
calling them out of hedgerows, thickets.
Get a pond to your back or a lake or something, and or get the wind blowing across something where they can't circle you as good. They're going to try to go downwind, but if you can
set up on somewhere of a point.
Yeah, set up so they can't get behind you without you getting a shot at them with a rifle. If you're on like the point of a hedgerow and you got the wind blowing across the field behind you, if they circle the field and come out in the field to try to get your wind, you got a shot at them with a rifle.
I got you.
Some people kill them at night with shotguns. A lot of people that are successful in Jersey at night are running thermals.
Yeah.
So they have a light, but they wait until the coyote's in, and either have thermals on their shotgun, which I wouldn't put an expensive thermal on a shotgun. But they'll run thermals until the coyote's getting in, and when it gets close to range, then they'll
pop the red or green
light. The call guy will throw the light on them, and the shooter will shoot or whatever.
But they already have a pretty damn good idea where that coyote's going to be.
Yeah, they already see it coming. Yeah. They already know that it's 80 yards out and it's running full blast. And they shut the thermal off, throw the light on it. The guy's ready to shoot. Bam. And still, coyote spins around and runs off.
I was going to say, to a coyote, buckshot ain't much at 60 yards.
No, and you can't even use buckshot at night. You're using number 4 shot.
No, I think they changed it. Just read up on it. It should still be open.
Even if they did, I shot a coyote on a deer drive one time at less than 30 yards, right? Running full blast, and they just logged this. It was like a big stump field where they had logged it, and there was like bushes growing back where some of the trees were growing back.
Wow, hold on.
No, they didn't change it.
Special permit season. Using BB to number 3 buckshot only.
Okay, so you can use number 3. That's why I shot this coyote with, which is big pellets. Or no, it was triple I shot it with. Number
Yeah,
3.
no. At night, they changed it 10 to 12 gauge using shot size. Number 4 find a T shot.
That's what it was before. T-shot's not. I mean, tungsten. If you're running tungsten
That's
shot,
fair.
that's
Wow,
not more knockdown.
that's wild.
Yeah.
'Cause-
So this coyote's running across this stump field, and there's like bushes,
Mhm.
and I throw the bead on it. It goes behind a little hill. It comes out. I got the bead leading it. I pull the trigger, and the coyote rolls behind a bush. And the next guy down is like, I'm only like maybe 16, 17 years old. The next guy down is probably 100 yards from me, and I can see him plain as day. I shot here, and he's like, off to the left. He's out of the range. So I shoot, and I never killed a coyote before. I was like, 16 or whatever. And I'm cheering. I'm got my gun up in the air. I'm yelling and hooting and hollering, and he's pointing, and it's this old guy. He died now. I got some funny stories of that dude. So he's pointing, and he's yelling, and he's pointing. I can't hear what the hell he's saying. He's like 100 yards away, and he's old as dirt. So I turn and look where he's pointing, and that coyote's like 50, 60 yards from me, running full blast. And in my head, I'm like, I just killed him, So I throw the gun up, bam, bam, throw another shell in. He's like 100 yards now, bam. Yeah. I rolled him twice. We never found him. I know guys that have shot him with bow and arrow in the gut and didn't find him. Went back the next day looking or whatever. They're just tough. They're tough critters.
Yeah.
So to limit us to tee shot,
which is why because
you're talking a 20, maybe 30-yard range.
Yeah,
and
I was
even
gonna
that
say
is lucky if you're fatal.
Yeah, because with
You shoot them in the head at 30 yards.
When we hear T shot, you think a goose hunter's using T shot, and that's like, what the fuck are you using that for? But yeah, when you relate it to a coyote, it's like
bigger animal. Yeah, it's not gonna do shit.
They're tough, man.
Yeah, and if you don't hit them in the head at 30 yards, like you said, you're probably not gonna kill them.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. I don't know. Because there was same thing with the bear. There was a coyote that attacked a little girl last year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Right outside of a schoolyard or some shit like that. Yeah. And I'm surprised something didn't change.
I think she had a dog with her. I think she had a little dog, and it went after the dog and bit the dog and her.
Yep. I mean, but you don't hear about that a lot.
No. California you do.
Yes.
California is all.
But that's because there's dumbass hikers and stuff.
You couldn't pay me to live in California.
No, absolutely
not. But their
not.
coyote problem compared to other states, like Texas has bad coyote problems.
Yep.
Oklahoma has bad coyote. But that's with ranches.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking city streets in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There's coyotes running down the street, and they're eating the trash, and they're whatever they're doing. But like, it's not safe to have coyotes running down the sidewalk.
No.
I don't care how much I love coyotes. It's not safe to have.
It's not safe to have a feral dog running down the side of the road. If you ask me.
Same
thing.
Yeah.
No, I know. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on?
I think that's it.
Till another couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple more weeks. We gotta have another one.
We'll have 100 more or something.
Yeah, we can have a little trap line stories one day.
Yeah. Well, so
tell some stories. You guys gotta go out with me sometime.
Well, what I was gonna say is, so we do the Patreon now, and with the Patreon we can talk about a lot of stuff that we wouldn't talk about here. Why? Because people pay to see the Patreon, and we would love to get you on for some kind of conversation about that. A little further down the line.
Yeah. Like I said, you guys are always invited. I love taking people with me, man.
Yeah.
It's just finding the time because
passion, I can, if I have a long line out and you guys are able to go on a weekend or something, come jump in the truck.
Yeah. I'd love to walk one with you.
All right, Colby, we appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Good.